This episode has been brought to you in part by the Azrieli Music Prizes. Join them in celebrating artistic excellence at the AMP Gala Concert, live from Maison Symphonique in Montreal, happening October 20th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Orchestre Metropolitain will premiere award-winning music by laureates Aharon Harla, Iman Habibi, and Rita Ueda. Learn more at azrielifoundation.org/AMP.
Ellen, I must tell you that you're one of the most remarkable persons that I've ever known in my lifetime. The energy, you're just oozing with enthusiasm and positiveness. And I must thank you for giving me the privilege of knowing you. And thank you for calling me for those services. Thank you.
You know that I don't usually get very personal on these podcasts, and I don't like to mix my professional journalism with my personal feelings, but today I hope that you forgive me because the voice that you just heard was Alex Polowin of Ottawa. He was one of Canada's most active and decorated war veterans from the Second World War, and he died recently at his Ottawa home. He was 98. And aside from being the last surviving veteran from HMCS Huron, the Royal Canadian Navy warship in the Second World War, Alex was my dear friend. For the past dozen years or more, Alex was a regular speaker to thousands of school children and adults across Canada and across Europe. He spoke about his service as a teenage Jewish sailor who lied about his age to enlist at age 17. He saw action on D-Day in 1944. He saw action in Russia, in northern Scotland. He even helped sink a German battleship, about which he liked to boast. And he did. He won many medals, and he charmed audiences, including Queen Elizabeth and other world leaders, with his gentle humor, his energetic harmonica playing, and his singing of old wartime songs. There's even a street named after him in an Ottawa suburb, as his grandson Aaron told the funeral.
It was a great thrill for him in 2017 when the city named a street after him in Barrhaven. It was an even bigger thrill for him to then knock on their doors and introduce himself as Alex Polowin.
I'm Ellin Bessner, and this is what Jewish Canada sounds like for Tuesday, September the 6th, 2022. Welcome to the CJN Daily, sponsored by Metropia. I first met Alex Polowin around Remembrance Day in 2018 when I interviewed him in Ottawa at the Jewish Community Centre about his war service, and we became great friends. We spoke every week at least once or twice, and we met in person again in France the next summer for the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landings in Normandy. And then the pandemic happened and lockdown, and he couldn't go to Jewish services at his Ottawa synagogue, so I made him an offer which he happily accepted. And since he didn't do computers or email, we decided that I would call him and hold up the phone to my laptop, and then we would listen to the Sabbath services, which were being broadcast on Zoom from my synagogue. And we did this every Saturday morning for nearly 2 years. And on the high holidays, too, when he would make a point to say memorial prayers on the anniversaries of the deaths of his beloved son Howard, his late wife Kathleen, and his 5 siblings. He's survived by 1 brother and a sister, 2 sons and their families, including 4 adult grandchildren. And although Alex was 98, he was still working out 3 times a day. He was even supposed to be leaving for Holland this week to mark the anniversary of the September 1944 Allied campaign called Operation Market Garden. Coming up, we'll hear from Alex's family and also from Erin O'Toole, the former Conservative Party leader and former Veterans Affairs Minister, who gave a eulogy at Alex's funeral. But first, here's what's making news elsewhere in Canada right now.
I'm Alan Sheps here in Toronto, and this is what Jewish Canada sounds like.
The organization representing Toronto's rabbis has broken its silence on the allegations against the Benjamin's Park Memorial Chapel funeral home after our reporting about years of inappropriate excess fees and at least 5 investigations by the Bereavement Authority of Ontario. The Toronto Board of Rabbis issued its statement to us here at the CJN on Friday. The statement was not signed, but it was sent from the president, Rabbi Yael Splansky of Toronto's Holy Blossom Temple. She says a copy is also being sent to Michael Benjamin, the head of the funeral home group. The rabbis urged Benjamins and all funeral homes serving the community to, quote, uphold their sacred responsibilities, maintain a sacred trust, and treat mourners with fairness, compassion, and transparency, unquote. And while the rabbis say they're deeply concerned about all the allegations swirling around Benjamin's, they're grateful for the critical role the funeral home has played in the lives of Jewish families for 100 years. And they're encouraged that Benjamin says it's taking steps to fix some of the issues, and they hope everything gets resolved soon. Last week, Benjamin's announced it will temporarily stop charging 10% fees for administration on charitable donations made through its Benjamin's Foundation, but it is fighting the whole matter in court after rulings by the Bereavement Authority ordering it to refund all the money for all families it charged this way dating back 6 years. And now to Alex Polowin's story. First, his granddaughter Megan Polowin is a science teacher in Ottawa, and she shared some of her pappy's early life story, including how the Holocaust and his murdered uncles motivated him to enlist in the Navy.
In 1928, 3-year-old Alex, his parents and siblings relocated from Lithuania to Canada. His formative early years of a mischievous boy would eventually yield to a deep desire to defend and protect those around him. He enlisted in the Royal Canadian Navy at the age of 17 after hearing his mother's enduring pain from her brothers and sisters who had been lost to the war for being Jewish. His father, who could not read, signed the document saying he was 18 and eligible for enlistment. In short order following his enlistment, he served on the HMCS Huron, the HMCS Pictou, and the HMCS Poundmaker. Over time, and the memory of his service faded, so too did many of his service brothers, leaving Alex as the last living serviceman of his peers on all 3 ships. He participated in many commemorative ceremonies within Canada and overseas as part of the Canadian delegation, including representing Canada at the 70th D-Day celebrations in Juno Beach, where he was humbly introduced to Queen Elizabeth, Barack Obama, Stephen Harper, François Hollande, Angela Merkel, among other prominent world leaders. As the proud recipient of many military accolades, including the French Legion of Honor, the Atlantic Star, the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal, the Soviet Peace Medal, the Order of Ushakov, and Canada's Sovereign Medal for Volunteerism, he always found time to share stories of these awards with those around him, occasionally even regaling unsuspecting strangers in grocery stores or restaurants.
Megan's brother Aaron Polowin is also a teacher. He teaches at an Ottawa Jewish day school. He was his grandfather's tech guru, and he helped Alex give his talks through Zoom.
He was most proud of his French Legion of Honor, which he proudly displayed on his lapel. He kept the letter from French President Jacques Chirac in his jacket pocket, proudly reading it aloud to all who would listen. During one of his parking mishaps in the last few years, he accidentally knocked the side mirror off his car. He brought the mirror to a body shop to be fixed. The owner was shocked when he saw the name and said that he lived on his street, Alex Polowin Avenue. Unfortunately, there were several more visits to the same body shop.
Erin O'Toole is the former Conservative Party leader in Canada. He remembers meeting Alex Polowin in 2013 when he was a rookie member of Parliament.
Alex had a sparkle that immediately drew you in. You could meet him once, you could meet him 1,000 times, and that sparkle was always there. I first met him as a brand new member of Parliament in 2013, and I believe it was at the Battle of the Atlantic Parade. We spoke, and I never forgot that interaction. But our friendship really deepened at the 70th anniversary commemorations of the Normandy landings in Juno Beach. In fact, Alex and I launched a coin together for the Royal Canadian Mint. We launched the coin and then traveled to France, where I saw him speaking to heads of state and to school children, showing them all respect, showing them all that twinkle. I've heard him say, as Erin said this morning, that Canada is the greatest country in the world. And we are great because of people like Alex Polowin. Coming from Lithuania at the age of 3, 14 years later, he was wearing the uniform of service of his new country to enlist in a truly just war. Serving on 3 of our warships, including HMCS Huron, which was part of the Normandy landings, where Alex played a role as part of the gunnery crew that allowed the Allies to gain a foothold again on Europe, and slowly defeat the tyranny of the Nazis. He is part of the liberty and freedom that we all enjoy today. Hard fought, and Alex never forgot about his comrades that didn't come home. In the years since, I would see him at most commemorations, and when I did become Veterans Affairs Minister for Canada under Prime Minister Harper, I was seeing him everywhere, to the point that the Veterans Affairs staff said to me, Alex, particularly after losing his wife, did more events than any other veteran in Canada, which is why our sovereign and the Governor-General awarded him another distinction, the Volunteer Service Award, that not all veterans get, because he always went above and beyond. Alex knew there was a time for war, which is why he was so keen to enlist. Particularly as a Jewish immigrant to Canada, he knew it was a just war to go and fight against the barbarism and tyranny. And that reminds me of the Jewish custom of tikkun olam, repairing the world. At times, it takes a just war to repair the world, but when the peace is achieved, it's helping others, it's showing kindness, it is honoring those who are no longer with us. Alex, as a veteran, but as a passionate volunteer and citizen, represented those ideals perhaps better than anyone.
You can read more about Alex Polowin's amazing life on the CJN website. The links are in our show notes. And if you have the CJN's coffee table book that came out 2 summers ago, he's profiled in there too, in the chapter that I wrote. And that's what Jewish Canada sounds like for this episode of the CJN Daily, sponsored by Metropia. Integrity, community, quality, and customer care. Today's listener shout-out goes to our newest subscriber, Joshua Goldhar, in Toronto. And we'll end the episode with, of course, a clip of Alex Polowin playing the harmonica. This comes from a talk for the Ottawa Jewish Historical Society in 2021. Thanks for listening.